Hello, listeners. Hi, my name is Madhavi, and I'm so happy to have you on Uptop. You have come to the right place if you want to learn about IT and do really cool things with your hands. We are not just another IT company when I say Uptop. Think of us as your learning partner dedicated to helping you reach your full potential. We have top notch hands on courses to help you build your business, whether you are new to technology or want to move up in your current job. Let's look around this as our first step towards learning.
Business role and IT role both are dependent on each other. In the business role, we will add the criteria like how this role will be assigned to user. And the IT role, we will put those entitlement that we want to assign and link this to entitlement or sorry role business identity together. Basically, now we have two-unit business role and the IT role. Business role will check how this role will be assigned to user. Let's say I'm the user and this role is assigned to me. Now SailPoint will check what are those IT role which is configured with this role. SailPoint will see that this is a one IT role. Inside this IT role, any number of entitlement which is added here like this way that will be assigned to me. Basically, business role is just hold your assignment logic. How role will be assigned to user. IT role contains actual impact. Now here, I'm just describing here. Now we have to set up it here. Before that, we have to basically define this. If you see here, we have this financial application, we have this HRMS application. We also have this as track application. Let me see what is the issue with this application. GBC. Now we have entitlement from this track application. We have 4 entitlement. If we go to inside the subgroup, you will see this. There are numbers here. Now, basically what we'll do, we'll simply go to those. First, we'll define a container. Click on the Add button. You have to provide a letter track container. Same display name. We have to first create our container. We'll use this organizational role. If you see, here we have this type of roles. We'll use organization submit this. This is created. Now what we have to do is, inside this, we have to add here. Now what we'll do, simply add the business role track, let's say tracker auditor. Let's say track approver. It gives this name. Now if you see this, we have this field here, assignment role, how we want to assign this particular role to user. What should be a criteria? If user method criteria, this will be assigned. That we need to define here assignment role. It will give you none. It will not assign to anyone match list. Also, you can select here. You can also write a filter here. You can also write a script, that means Java. You can also use a role here, and you can also use population. Now, if you see, we create the population in the past. Here you can directly select that population. For those population, it will directly assign this role. Let's say I select this population engineering department user form Omega region. Submit this. Now this is the icon of your business role. Now we will create one more role. That is your IT role. Track approver. Same name, select the ID. Now in this you will not see any assignment logic. Here you will see the entitlement, which entitlement you want to assign to user. Click on Add button. Select the application. Now we want to assign the capability. Let's say approver. And same time also one more. Let's say reject also. Save this. We added two entitlement here. Say this. Now if you see, we have created two entitlement track approver, and that is business role. And this is your IT role. Now if you click on this IR business role, you will see this option is required role. When this business role track approver will be assigned to user who fulfilled this assignment role criteria, that is a population, basically. Which role, which IT role will be assigned to user. We have to add in modified required roles. Here you have to type the name, track or variety. Save this. Save this. Now, basically, we have defined one role, one complete role, business role, and IT role. You don't need to follow hierarchy here. That is not important at this moment. The main concept here is to role as business role and IT role. Business role contains the assignment logic. How this role will be assigned to user. If this role is assigned to user, that means users fulfilling the assignment criteria. This role is assigned to user. What are those roles which are IT roles which are configured this business role? If you see here, if I scroll down, you see required role. Expand this. Inside this track approver, business role, there is one IT role, configured track approver IT. If business role is assigned to user, SailPoint will automatically add this track approver IT to the user. Now this is one example. And the prod, or in the actual system, what we do, we add multiple roles, say multiple and multiple roles. Here, inside the multiple roles, you will have multiple entitlement from different application. Basically, level will increase, but the concept will remain same. I do own the business role. Business role is called your assigned roles because this will be assigned based on the assignment role. IT role is called detected roles because this will be based on your entitlement. If entitlement will be assigned to user, it will come. Now, how this role is assigned to user? By default, this role will not be assigned to user. First of all your roles should be enabled. If you see that this is enabled, this is enabled. In case the role is not assigned, you can also check if the role are enabled or not. Second thing is refresh ID cube. Go to refresh ID cube. Here we have two options. One is this one. Refresh assigned director role and promote additional entitlement. And this is the second one. Provision assignment. This one is simply check if any users fulfilling the criteria here in the business role. The second one will assign both the roles to the user. Let's say if I remove all this option from here, I simply run this two option. Refresh, assign directed roles and provision assignment. That's it for all the user. Refresh, save and execute. Basically, it's a container only. No significance of this, our initial role. Only two roles are important, IT and business, through which we assigned our, basically, through which we control the RBAC, role-based access control. It's just a container. You will have multiple roles in the system. This is one example for the training purpose. But in your actual system, you will have many roles. Definitely, we need to structure them. That's why we follow this hierarchy. Now by the sign, wise, if you see it, it show you sign like a folder sign. Now, if you see, this is showing colorful dot. Basically, it's showing a hierarchy. And basically, that means this business role will have the assignment logic and different role assigned. Now, if you see this icon is basically kind of a CPU, the old style CPU. Basically a system, actual system. Basically, all like some life example. If you want to use manager access site, you can request for this entitlement directly. That you have a written entitlement catalog, and same time you can also request for these rules. Basically, this is kind of partial, like partially are using RBAC and partially are using SailPoint capability. But some organizations, they mark all this entitlement request, requestable false, that you can and only request for rules, and through the rules you will get the entitlements. Depend on the customer preference. Some want to go with 100% RBAC and some want to use partially RBAC. The concept is basically if they are frequently assigning and removing, and they have some kind of a standard structure, then they should always use the role. Role is always a better approach. But see, this is an item. When you use this manager's access, basically this is an object. It could be your entitlement. It could be your application. It could be a role. It doesn't matter. The main thing is when SailPoint process that object. Whatever configuration you have configured in the workflow, I'll simply wish me. It will process that. If you see a role type, I select the business role apply. Now you'll see the track approval, business row owners, that SP admin. It will not create the approval, I guess. But one more thing it will do that I want to show you whenever you are making requests to roles. Application name will not come in SailPoint because role is a container which is holding multiple entitlements from different application. SailPoint cannot give you a particular application name. In that case, SailPoint use its own name. Application name is IQ. If you see, here it's not showing any application name, but when I submit on the access request number 2, you go here. Somewhere it should show application name is IdentityNow. Automatically SailPoint, when the SailPoint will process this request, it will check this role. What are the entitlement configure with this role track approval? Based on that, it will break down the request and it will automatically assign those entitlement to this user that we have selected. If you see here, this is one role that we request to track approval. You see a reason is requested. This is what our requested application name is coming as IdentityIQ. But when SailPoint process this role, that time SailPoint check that this role holds this one entitlement that is reject. SailPoint assign this and the reason you say expansion. Basically when SailPoint process that time SailPoint expand this role and find out that one entitlement is required to assign. SailPoint added this approval and everything will go as same like it was going for the entitlement request. As it is same, no change. Only application name will change. And internally, SailPoint will convert this role into entitlement, like whatever entitlement, you have selected here. For example, we have selected this too. Approve is already selected to this user if you see. That's why it's only adding the reject SailPoint. Never assign the same exists again that you can do forcefully. But by default, SailPoint will not. You see, approves already assigned. SailPoint is only assigning the reject. Here, we have configured to write in the role. If you see the role, SailPoint automated. SailPoint by default, this is called your default process. Everything is processed by the SailPoint. Basically, you are using this interface. But actual thing is basically this is not a customized course. This is out of the box process, out of the box process. Basically, everything is managed by a SailPoint from the IAMO audit or compliance perspective. That's why it's also advisable that we should also go with minimum customization because we might break the originality of the product. If you see, here we have this option. By that we have to select approval, who will be the pro owner. What we are requesting? We are requesting a rule. The row owner, like if we have owner here, each object has a owner, you see admin. This will be the approval basically. If you select a manager in the business process, you select a manager here, you remove the owner. It doesn't matter who is the owner. You can only create manager approval. For example, I am the manager and same time the requester. Basically, I'm the requester. I'm the manager. Let's say your identity. I'm getting your requesting some access to you. And now I'm your manager and I'm the basically approved configured. In case when the investor and approval both are same, SailPoint will not create approval item at all. It will bypass the approval. If you see this one, for this one approval was who was the pro for this one, SPA admin, and who's the requester, SPA admin. Whenever requester and the pro or both are same, basically I'm requesting why I'll go to an additional tab and approve that item. You never create the approval item in that case. You know some people who has less knowledge in it. They feel that business role is for the business people. I did also the IT technical people. That is not the case. There is no relation like that. You will have this answer for many people, but that is not the case at all. Business role is basically assigned, will be assigned to use that. Basically, the SailPoint is breaking down this process, whole a role item, into two different levels. One will contain your assignment logic. Second, one will contain those entitlement which is required to be assigned. Business role is always called assigned because they have this assignment logic. That's why they are called as assigned role. Whereas IT role is called your detected roles because IT role will only show on your profile. When you have those role config, those entitlement configured that we have mentioned here in the IT role. Let's say if you have this two role, approval rejected. Sorry, entitlement approval rejected. You will see this tracker approval. IT will be assigned to those user. That's why it's called detected roles. Business role will continue. Business assignment logic track will continue entitlement, but both will be linked to each other. Then only SailPoint will assign this. Basically, it's kind of a token system. You fulfill up, you go to market. Let's say you want to buy something. You fill the form. You submit the form. You pay them. Then they give you a token. Now you'll go to another counter. Now they will give you your actual item for which you paid. Basically, this is the first thing, is basically the form thing. This is the actual product and the relation between these two that we have defined here. If you see required roles, this is how SailPoint used this assignment to role and entitlement. This is called our back role-based access control. Some of nations use this 100% for their access, but some use partially. But you can only use this 100% when you have complete clarity on your role, structure, and hierarchy. We also do like this example. Let's say we have IT company. Let's say IT company of, let's say 50,000. Like, assume that now basically we have to assign our, let's say, everyone who will join as a software trainee, we have to assign some different access to them. And that will be from the different applications. It's from the 40 application. What we can simply do is we can add those entitlement here. We can create a business role for the IT training and then IT role here again. In that case, we can add those entitlement from the 40 application. Now we have to only assign this business role to the user. All the remaining access will be automatically assigned by the SailPoint to the user. This is now. You will see how much time and effort we are saving here. Generally, we use two types of approval, owner or manager, because those are the only person who knows what is the success. What it will if it is assigned to user, what will be the impact. For example, role owner, always those person who are comes from either clients, IM team that they have idea. And generally we don't use roles owner as an approval, but we use approval here in the application. Basically, who will assign you like, which identity will you assign here to the business owner of the track application. There will be one person who will be the representative of this track application within the organization. We'll put that name or maybe their whole team as an both group here. Assign different application into the role. Basically, whenever we use this role approach to assign the access, first thing that we need to do is basically we have to find out our relationship, that this is a rule, or you can say a designation or the other destination. You can say that if the user is basically part of this at this level or this rank or this resume, what access by default, what access we need to provide. We need to list down those access, and that could come from your n number of application. We need to first list down those, and basically we have to create an Excel using that Excel mapping. We have to define those role here only one time, basically here. Here, SailPoint give you complete flexibility that you want to add from the different application. You can add simple or not. Stop you. And now the advantage of is basically, let's say for example, we have defined a one-up priority role like this one. Let's say, for example, I want to define one more role for the admin. Let's say what I simply do add admin business through. Save this. Now create one more role here, add track admins. Add in that element. Instead of adding those, what we can simply do that track capability. Super is the basically your admin. Save, but admin will also have the lowest low-level access. What we'll do now? You see, we have to. I think that you might fight and this one business. Now what we'll do, edit this role. Go down in the required role, we'll add both ID. and also same time track approval. Basically, same idea role is again used in two business role if you see. Now how we are basically dividing the hierarchy. There will be one person who will be only approval. That will get this role. This one. Track up variety, basically up approval level of capability. There is one role that will be assigned to those users who are admins in this track application. They will get to two type of roles, admin as well as approval. They will get the complete access on the Strike application. This is how also we know. This is how we also use these rules. For example, we just created this approval. Same I'm using here in the track, admins. You can have multiple rows load based on your level, access level that you want to define in the system. Basically, generally, how we follow is basically first week, we basically spend time on the application, on the Excel. They have to basically give us the appropriate mapping. Otherwise, it will be a big mess up if you follow or if you configure a wrong mapping. We have to do that in the Excel. Then we have to validate that everything is fine. Then we start adding those mapping here in the form of roles. Generally, we don't create it. It's like an initial activity. Like for example, in regular case, what happened? They will give us some entitlement and they will ask us to create new roles here. They will give the assignment criteria. The user belongs to this department or this location. Then this role needs to be assigned. Basically, this activity is only performed in a bulk activity. That is only happened on the starting level. And then they will keep adding or removing a few rules. But from the bulk level, the Excel thing they will only do in the starting level. And also for this bulk one. There's one more thing they do. That is not part of basically a SailPoint. But using some different tools, they also generate this Excel sheet. How they do that? I am not aware of that. But I saw that they provide Excel sheet in a proper like it is generated from some tool. I'll try to find out if that is possible. I can see it, but I don't think. I do have that. If something goes wrong, it will assign wrong access to the user. That's why when they want to use, like any customer want to use our role management basically, they need to be very clear about the role mapping. That is the first thing. Second thing is basically once they configure here, a SailPoint will directly assigning the access. Now the main advantage is instead of using your manager access, directly requesting the entitlement or directly assigning the entitlement. The main advantage is here when you have different determined entitlement that you want to frequently assign or remove to the user based on their candy department location or their designation, their job title. In that case, this is a widely used feature because in that case we are doing 100% automation if you see. Once you define the role, you will schedule the refresh task. It will keep assigning this role to those users who are fulfilling this criteria. But in case of manager access, you have to go here manually and you have to request for it. Basically, the main purpose of role is give a platform where they can see all the hierarchy and every like entitlement information here. Basically structured data and which can be automatically assigned and removed. If user is fulfilling this criteria, SailPoint will assign this role. But let's say your existing user who was previously following this criteria, but now it's not following this criteria, SailPoint also remove that role using the same task. Basically, when we run this classification anti-cube, SailPoint check both things. Any user who is fulfilling this business role criteria, assign this. Any user existing user who already has this role, or now that user is not following the criteria, remove that. Basically, both assignment and removing of the role happen with these two options. The only major issues, basically, they should be very clear about that. In this role, we have to map 5 entitlements. They have to very sure about those 5 entitlements that you know that they want to assign it to the user. The main thing is here, using very much customer want to use role management by the main thing that is basically they have to do a lot of analysis on their end with the access and with different application on basically, because every time, like as a developer, you have to just configure here business role and IT role, but you cannot perform analysis on behalf of them. Like you are a SailPoint developer, you cannot perform analysis because you don't know how many systems they are using. What will be the impact of the access? And which access we need to provide to a new user, which access we need to provide to the admin user, which access we need to provide to the normal user. Access is again divided into different categories. They have the different business logic on based they assign access to the user. We need a complete data and access. We will only just configure it here. We will not be involved in activity where they are reaching out to a different application owner, business owner, and they are asking for the data they need. They have to perform this analysis by their own end. Our job is to give, like if you want to assign, like our job is to explain them how this model works and how we'll configure it. They can prepare the data and provide to us. One other thing that people also does here in case of role, when they initially set up these rules, like for example, they provide you Excel. Again, it's a big manual effort. Instead of, manually creating rules here, they write up Java, basically Java utility, through which using the Excel, they will create the rules here from the backend, basically. Basically, in the security, we cannot rely on the manual process. At the same time, automation processes also depend on the data, which is again somewhere entered manually. And every organization is not a big issue with that. Corrupted data is not correct in this system. They have one system is correct data, but other systems does not have the correct data. It is a very common problem. Again, same issue. If they provide you wrong data, when you want to configure rules, this is like the rules. Let's say, for example, rules for 5,000 in user, and you have 100 plus application by any chance in. Let's say, for example, if you configure wrong or a concretion here, conservation here, it will mess up. It will create a lot of issue because it works very quickly and there is no manual intervention is required. But same time, if you have configured a proper mapping here, it is very useful thing because there is no manual intervention required. Everything is automated and same time, let's say users inactive, the same time, SailPoint will remove the rules. User is active, you say you put it all at the rules. Everything. Basically, this action manages X that we go to entitlement category, press for entitlement account. That is happening here directly without any manual intervention. Mean again, the main point is basically you should have the correct mapping. In case you miss this mapping, you miss configuring mapping. Definitely it will be basically give you negative result. But if you see here, many of the access you want to, let's say you want to add something to there, I don't call it, you simply add, you search here. By default is add access is selected here. You have to select this remove access. Now it will show those entitlement which is assigned to Aaron Nicholas. You can select those and you can submit the request. A request will go as a remote access. This will be assigned. This will not be removed automatically until unless you write the job for that. Through the certification, you can remove access reviews there. But let's say, for example, normal user move from one department to another. This this entitlement will not be removed automatically by SailPoint. There is no such process defined. But in case of role, we have that process. Based on the complexity, generally they schedule the certification campaign. Generally, they follow a year frequency. But sometimes they also do this quarterly based on the application sensitivity of the data and access, like previously. Maybe they have some issues in the past with access. Now they resolved. They might want to, just review it again just for safety reasons. They want to review it again, those things. What they does? Simple thing is in access review, your access will be reviewed by someone. It could be a manager. It could be an application owner. It could be some specific person. They will review your access. This is the access is assigned to you. Is that access assigned to you or you have some additional access? You have some additional access which is not required to perform your business task. They will simply mark that review and they will submit it. SailPoint will immediately remove both access from your profile, basically. That is basically simple your access review process. Basically, like for example, let's say I give you 5 rows. There's 5 business role. I said that this business role is for this purpose. Let's say for IT training. I teach them software engineers, software engineer, technical managers, senior manager, assistant director, like that. And then I also give you a number of entanglement, like a list of entanglement which we want to assign to different level. You can simply create the role here. You using that Excel suite. Same thing, basically and the data is provided by me to I'll provide you the data in the Excel form. When you have a large data in the Excel site, instead of doing that manual process, we write a utility Java ability which will create those role in SailPoint. Basically, it totally depends. They can also give you a document, and in the document, they can also put a table. They can also give you data in a comma separate value. It totally depends one system they're using. They might have some system which can also generate data in Excel. Or let's say the CFO has some kind of utility already there. Might be they can also give you that for the data. There is no standard. That's why SailPoint not give you any kind of utility let's say example, if they provide you data in some specific format, then SailPoint can also provide you utility. Like many people use that code. SailPoint can also copy the same code and can provide you by the name. But there's no standard process. Basically, the data can be provided to any form. It could be a CSV, it could be your Excel or any other format, basically. Basically, we use a few things to validate that. One is your advanced analytics, through which you can see which user is basically assigned this particular role. You can validate that. Second thing is basically your reports. You can also generate reports in the report. You can see, except for this role is assigned to which user, what time it is signed, and that will come in the report. Third one is by you, that is your access certification. And this basically a certified will review it, and David also, again you approve it, because this is not a limitation of this access review that they will not only review. The access, they have to also approve it. It's a both basically. And the additional access which is not required, they have to remove it. Basically, we have to do 4 types of role in SailPoint: organizational IT, business, and enlightenment. Organizational role is just some container. We have to. Just whenever we want to define a container, we will use organizational role. Now, some organizations want to use role-based access control 100%. They don't want you to look for. For each entitlement, they can create a role basically. That is your 4th type. Let me show you that speech. This one. This for organizational role is your container. Entitlement role is basically for each entitlement, you will create an entitlement role. From this I started. Basically, we have 4 types of role: organizational, business, IT, and entitlement. Organizational role is just some container, no other use. Now, entitlement role. We already have entitlement rights. What is the need of entitlement role? Those organizations who want to use complete our bank system. They don't want user to request this entitlement. This entitlement that you have in the entitlement catalog. From the manager access, they don't want a user to request this entitlement. Instead of that, they want user to request a role. For each role, they will create an entitlement role, which is again a kind of adding more load to system. This is not a widely used, but some organizations still prefer this. Now mainly we use business and IT role, and these 2 roles are dependent on each other. This is not like 2 different categories, but it's basically a combination of different units, providing a complete solution to the role. Basically, this business role and IT role basically to get the providing access to the user. Now, what is the difference? How they relate to each other? Business role contains the assignment logic. How this business role will be assigned to the different identities in the system. That assignment logic you will put inside the business role. Now coming to the IT role. Basically, which access we want to assign to the user, that will bind inside this. We will add inside this IT role, and we will link this both role together as a single unit basically. If you remember one concept we use in Oracle Identity Management Access Policy. We also have rows in Oracle Identity Management. I want access policy done whenever a person joined the organization. Access policy will be triggered on that user, and it will check if any role is required to be assigned to the user. Basically, access policy is a business role. That's the policy, and IT role is that particular role which will be assigned to user. What is that role? Actual access, basically the actual access on the system. And this is not limited to one application. You can buy multiple application, multiple entitlement, or a combination of anything in this IT role. Business role is basically an access policy. For IT admin, we can create one role and we can bind all those entitlement in one role. We'll simply assign one role to all the IT admin. And in order to automate that assignment type, what we will do? Simply, we will put that logic. There should be some property that this particular user has IT admin. We'll define that property here inside the business role if any user is fulfilling that property. You'll find we'll automatically assign this business role to those users, basically. Let's say they have the designation like senior or senior IT. Network admin basically. Network admin. Any user. We put that logic here inside the business role, that any user whose designation is senior at IT admin. You'll find we'll automatically assign those business role to those admin users basically. Control by here. For example, let's say you have an active application now when you see you from the different domain or like that. Basically, you select here Active Directory application. Now you can configure multi-domain. Here you enter a value where you can click a add. It will show you another row. Now each object that will be scanned by the Active Directory connector, account and the group. We will manage two things, only account and the group. Account is basically a user account. Group is basically access. Now the group, let's talk about, let's say group, each group will have the DN. Now, then we'll also tell you this particular group belongs to domain controller or this particular group belongs to domain controller B. They will have the complete DN value. We'll do something like that. That is already bind with your entitlement here, and that particular entitlement we are just adding here. We don't need to manage those domain controller or thing when SailPoint will assign that entitlement that time. Children will check with this entitlement from this particular domain. We need to provision into this domain. If you see that the purpose of role is to assign the entitlement. For example, let's say we have an application here. It is to domain A. From the domain A, we are bringing entitlement AA, entitlement AB. And similarly, from the domain B, we are bringing this entitlement B, this too. I'm using prefix here for the domain A and here this one B. Now, if you pick this entitlement or pick an entitlement, this will show you DN value. It will basically what is entitlement? AD group. In the AD group, you will see the DN. Every object has a DN in the AD system. Same DN it will show here, and using DN, you can simply find that this particular object belongs to which domain. Basically, like for example, this picture, if you see it, for example, inside this we come to your domain. Inside the domain, we are in the system in the group. Now, I guess these are the domain admin security group basically. If you click on this, you will see that DN, distinguished name of this group. Basically, every object in AD, you will see that DN. The attribute basically are present like DN, same name indeed. Just those kind of attributes. Using D, you can check. Like for example, if I just show you DN of this, you know this domain admin. You can simply check where this object lies. Because DN, give you the reverse hierarchy. Correct. Or let me show you. It would be something. DN. Var. This is the one. Every object have this value. This is the name attribute name, that this is a distinguished name attribute in the Active Directory system. This is also for user as well as for the group. Distinguished name will always give you unique value. And using that value, you can find out where your actual object lies in basically this kind of hierarchy. You will see a little complex hierarchy like this. How it works? Basically, it's a reverse. This is your domain controller. Basically, this is a root. Inside this, you will have one container CN, basically a one folder. Inside this folder, you will have this object, the DN. Value and then SailPoint, you now add the group to any user. SailPoint know where it needs to provision based on the DN value. There is no confusion with respect to which domain SailPoint need to provision. That object will itself tell which I am presenting this particular domain. Let's say here this data domain. SailPoint will only do provisioning in the domain B only. Basically, in the entitlement, you will have that. Those value application name, group name DN. Entitlement object itself is, can tell you everything like where SailPoint will provision. Basically, that simple object we are binding into role. In the role is just basically, we are linking this entitlement to role. When role process internally, SailPoint will check this is entitlement belong to active data application domain B. We need to provision into domain B. Every detail will come under your entitlement, basically not on the role in the role. We are just binding this entitlement. We are linking this entitlement basically. First, it will provide the rule. Within the SailPoint, role is a SailPoint object. Basically, inside the SailPoint, role outfit SailPoint, there is nothing like a role. The role is basically a kind of a container which will contain different entitlement from different application. When the first SailPoint assign the role to the user, basically SailPoint internally tagging a role to the user, and then SailPoint is checking what are those entitlement which are configured with that role. Then SailPoint, one by one, SailPoint will start adding those entitlement to the user. Role is just basically a way actual provisioning is happening again through the entitlement. Only every object has their own terminology. Every system has their own terminology. For example, in A, D, you will see groups and the user to object. In the Octa, you will see three object, application, profile, and group. In the SAP also, you will see roles. For SailPoint, all these are basically entitlement that will come under here in the attachment. Please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us sales@uptalk.com.